Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about being vulnerable, because everybody at one time or another will find themselves in a very vulnerable position. And most of us, many times in our life, we are vulnerable, whether it be physical or emotional or both. We become vulnerable. How I came about doing this video came from a woman that I watch on YouTube. I'm not only on YouTube, but I watch a lot of YouTube as well. And I'm assuming that you probably do too. You know, we all have our favorite people and our favorite topics and subjects that we like to watch. So this woman that I watch, her name is Erinn. She does a lot of Temu and Marshall's, TJ Maxx shopping hauls. And she's a really sweet person. She's a lovely person. She's a lot of fun to watch. So I will put her link in my description down below. And if you think that's something you like to watch. So one night, a few nights ago, I was watching her. And she started talking about this other woman that apparently is on YouTube. She has a shopping channel. But it's a much smaller channel than Erinn's. She was talking, I guess, about the deal with the food stamps and the SNAP, and that, you know, they weren't getting them, and that her and her family were actually going through dumpsters looking for food. And this is in rural North Carolina. And the food pantries are pretty much empty. Or were empty. This was, like I said, a few days ago. Probably not much more has happened, except the government shutdown, thankfully, has come to an end, and hopefully people will be getting their benefits soon. So this woman and her family, you know, were literally going through dumpsters looking for any kind of food that they could find. So she asked all of us that were watching her channel to maybe go over to her name is Tabitha, to go over to Tabitha's channel. And again, I will link her channel down below as well. So this woman, Tabitha, very sweet person. You know, it doesn't take a long time to really get to see what kind of spirit people have. Maybe I always feel that I can judge people pretty quickly. And this woman, she's a real deal, you know, she's a real deal. And she was very appreciative of us going to her channel and liking it and watching her videos and subscribing, because she's not monetized yet. And obviously, if she becomes monetized, you know, she will start making some income from YouTube, and I'm sure that will help her and her family out. So that is what Erinn asked us to do. And I went over, of course, with a whole lot of other people. And we helped her out. So in the interim, I checked back with her the next day. And she, about vulnerability, talk about being vulnerable, she put her address on there. She put her name, her personal address, her messenger QR code, so that people could send her things. And I don't know who gave her this idea, but you know, it worked like a charm. I mean, people were sending her food and money. She had a Cash App on there. And every day she would do a video, sometimes multiple videos, to thank people for and she would show people what she got, you know, from Amazon or Walmart or wherever, you know. And she showed them going to the grocery store and showed us her receipt. Not that I was asking to see it, but she showed that, you know, this is what she spent and what she got at the grocery store. And, you know, they were so happy, her and her husband. She has a grown son. I'm not sure what the situation is with him, but, you know, they were all in need. Obviously in need. So she was so thankful. She says, we've got so much now. Well, in the interim of all this, there must have been some really nasty people that were threatening her. They were literally threatening her and her family and calling them names and saying that they were fake and that they were just trying to get money and just being rotten people. I mean, you know, I don't want to get real upset over this. I really don't, but I have been upset over it. To think that people, I mean, if you think somebody is fake, and I'm going to be honest, I've seen some people on Facebook literally asking for money and food, and I have scrutinized, you know, looking, and I say to myself, no, they're fake. I think they're fake. Okay, I don't say anything to them. I don't send them any money, but I don't insult them. I don't tell them off. I don't call them names. I don't try to belittle anybody or insult anybody. But there are people out there that do, and we know that. So this poor woman, Tabitha, she said, it's okay. She said, we have a lot. We thanking everybody profusely. But she had to take her address down. She had to take everything down because of these remarks that it hurt her so badly. And she was afraid. I mean, people threatening to go to her house. And they said, you probably live in a mansion. I mean, I just don't understand people at all. I don't. But anyway, what I'm asking you to do, to make a short story long story longer, if you could please go to her channel and just give it some love, you know, maybe watch some of her videos, give her thumbs up, and maybe subscribe if you think that would be something you'd like to watch. Again, she's a very sweet woman. It'll help her channel, so maybe she can grow it and get monetized. And, you know, she's willing to do that. And let me tell you, from somebody who does YouTube, it's not all fun and games. You know, it is enjoyable. I enjoy it. I enjoy, you know, helping people. I enjoy the community that we're growing here. Never thought it would be on such a negative, down topic, but it's something that we are all living through. But that's why originally I did start my shopping side, which I have been ignoring, but I do want to get back into that. But I have been ignoring it, I'm not going to lie. But there's a lot of work to YouTube behind the scenes that people don't realize. You know, there's hours put in of work. And you have to learn a lot of things. I'm still learning, believe me. I know the very few basics. I feel like that there's so much more for me to know and to learn. And I want to do that because I do enjoy it, you know. And, you know, thankfully, we're starting to get pushed out. I don't know, the last video, we're doing better. So that's good. You know, that's good. It's good for me. It's good for YouTube as a whole. You know, they want people to watch. When, you know, we make money individually, YouTube makes more money. We know that, right? Yeah. So anyways, that's what I'm asking you to do. Just go and give her some love. And, but it gave me the idea of how vulnerable she put herself out there, putting up her address and this, because she needed to. And I have been vulnerable. You know, not only during my drinking days and asking for help, but I've been vulnerable with my adult child. That, you know, I've been vulnerable to his harsh words. And one time I asked him for a favor and he turned me down flat. And it hurt. It really did hurt. And I'm going to share that with you. It's when I was first pulling myself together, you know, being sober and going from sober house, and you go to another sober house and they give you a little more independence, and then you go to another sober house. And you know, There's all kinds of checkpoints along the way when you are in a program like that, which I needed personally as an alcoholic. If you would just put me in a rehab and sent me on, it put me in an apartment by myself, I'd be drunk before you could say Mary Poppins. That's how fast I would have been drunk. I'm so grateful to have gotten the help that I needed. A lot of people don't get the help they need. And to use that sobriety in the best way that I can, to live my life the best way that I can. And I have this YouTube channel, and I'm very grateful. So, I digress. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of me being vulnerable. All right, with my son. So my son at the time was living with his significant other, and we were butting heads a lot. He was finding fault with me, very harsh on me, and I was in my own apartment at the time. I had pretty much just gotten, self-sufficient, let's say. Still going to meetings, AA meetings, still trying to keep myself safe, and it was new, but I had a good support system of friends, so that helped me a lot. And I had pets years ago that when I became very sick with alcoholism, I lost my pets, and that hurt me tremendously, and I felt extremely guilty. I did find a home for my dog, but my 3 cats ended up going to a shelter, and it was very painful. To this day, it's hard for me to talk about my animals. It really is. So all along my recovery, I didn't have any animals, So there's one nice woman. She used to drive us to meetings because I didn't have a car. And she would drive a group of us to meetings, and sometimes we'd go shopping after, or we'd stop for coffee or whatever. And she did foster care, cat foster care, and she did it quite a bit. She didn't want a full-time pet because she traveled quite a bit, but the fostering was perfect for her. And she started talking about this one cat who she felt was very special, and he had been in the shelter a very long time because he was 12 years old, and he was very timid, and she said if there was any cat that she wanted, it was this one. But she still didn't want a cat full-time. Long story short, I felt I was strong enough to have a pet. So I went down and I adopted this cat, who was 12. So when I came home with this cat, maybe the next time, or it came up, when I talked to my son on the phone, we were still talking, that, I got a cat. Well, when I ever mentioned that he was 12, my son blew a gasket, and he was just, why would you do that? That was so stupid, Mom. Why would you do that? 12-year-old cat? How long is he going to live? And you don't have money for a vet, and blah, 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 and you shouldn't have done it, and why did you do that? Now, I can't say that he was totally wrong, right? No, he wasn't. He wasn't wrong, but I adopted him, and it was love at first sight, let me tell you, with this cat. I named him Taz because he was so furry. He looked like the Tasmanian devil, and he was black and tan and kind of wild looking, and I called him Taz, and he was a sweetheart of a cat. Oh, I listened to it, from my son. He was giving me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so fast forward about a year, and it was a weekend, and he was sick. My cat was sick. Really sick. And I didn't know what was wrong with him, and I didn't have the money to take him to a vet. My son was 1,000% correct with that. Waited till the next day just to see, sometimes they get their stomachs upset and they throw up a couple of times, and then, then they feel better. So I waited to the next day, just wondering, what the heck am I going to do with this cat? I don't have the money. And wasn't getting Social Security yet either. Not sure what I was even living on then. It wasn't a lot of money. It was, I'll be honest, I believe it was welfare. I was getting $300 a month welfare and some food stamps. Once I got my Social Security, a big chunk of it actually went back to pay the state off. So I don't owe the state any money, just for any haters that are watching. And I know people have very strong opinions about people that are on government assistance, and I understand that. I absolutely do. People abuse the system. I would be the first one to say, yes, some people do abuse the system. But when you get the Social Security, at least that's how it was. I don't know how it is now. They pay back the state. So, you start getting federal Social Security, which I did pay into. I worked over like 40 years of my life. So there's that. But anyway, I digress again, but I just want to clarify because, just me telling this story, I know I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position. So long story short, my cat wasn't getting any better, and I called my son. I hated doing that. You don't know how much I hated to call him and ask him for money. But it wasn't for me, it was for my cat. And I promised I would pay him back. And he told me, no, I can't possibly do that. I told you not to adopt that cat. And I said, I know, but he's sick. Well, I can't. I said, So I hung up the phone with him and started crying. And who did I call next? My sister from another mister. My long best buddy in the world that we've known each other since childhood. She said, oh boy, she said, well, where do you want to take them? And she said, take them to my vet. They're wonderful. And they were wonderful. She said, I'm going to call them right now. I'm going to tell them your name. I'm going to make an appointment for you. And I'm going to give them my credit card number over the phone. So you'll be all set. She called me back. You're all set to go. And I promised I would pay her back. And I did. So, this woman, I'm going to tell you, she has helped me out more times than I can tell you. And there has been money given to me from her that she didn't want paid back. She didn't want paid back. And if I owe anybody money, and I do, if you want to go dollar for dollar, I owe her. I owe her money. I don't know how much, but I owe her money. So that was a lesson for me to, and I mean, my son made perfect sense, right? I mean, adopting a cat that's 12, he lived to be 15. And in the interim of all this, he ended up having what they thought was either IBS, which a lot of people have. It's an intestinal issue. They did give me steroids for him, and off and on he would go back on the steroids. I got him that expensive food for his diet. He passed away when he was 15 because what they said was he either had IBS, which was the lesser of the evils, or he had lymphoma, which is a cancer. And the only way that they would know for sure was to open him up, which I didn't want them to do. Number one, it would be over $5,000, which I did not have. And they said, no, you're not being a bad cat mama by not doing that. So we'll treat him, symptom-wise, and you'll know when it's time to put him down, and I did. So, but would I ever ask my son for anything again? No. Now, I understand, he had, believe he did have a child at the time. His first daughter was a baby. So he did have a child, and he brought that up. I have, family, and I have a child. And I said, I know. I'm sorry to even ask. I'm sorry to even ask you, but I don't know who else to ask, and I don't know what to do. Because, you see an animal that's hurt, you can't just ignore it, and I was realizing he wasn't going to get better on his own. And he needed to see a vet. So I know he was correct, and as a parent, of course, it's not supposed to be, well, I did this for him, so he should do this for me. No, it's a different situation, and I fully understand that. But it did make me think about probably 2 years prior to that, before he met this woman. And he literally got stranded in Texas. And he says, I got 3 more days here, and I don't have any money. And I'm like, okay. Now, I was still getting my $300 a month, and I sent him $200 of it. And I said, will that help you? He said, yeah, Mom, that'll help me. Thank you. I didn't expect it back. He didn't give it back. I wouldn't take it back. Whatever he needed, I would give him. And like I said, this one time, he didn't. And I promised I would pay him back. So, anywho, that's my story of being vulnerable, really vulnerable with my son. And it didn't feel good, believe me. We still talked after that. I didn't hold it against him. We didn't talk about it ever again. And like I said, my friend came through for me. And then it wasn't long after that I got the Social Security. And I did everything I could for this cat because I loved him so much. He was, when I have an animal, I love them. I love them to pieces, like I'm sure a lot of you do. They're your family, right? And we do whatever we can for them. Please give this video thumbs up, hit the like button. And apparently I don't have the hype button. Somebody mentioned that to me, and it was like, oh yeah, I don't even have that button. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it might have to do with the subject matter of this video, of this channel in general. Apparently, it's what I'm thinking. Why that hype button is not there, I don't qualify for it. I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is, it's not there. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. So I won't be putting that to please hype, and I won't be telling you to hype because there's nothing to hype. So give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. We do a video at least once a week, and I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment. Tell me when you've been vulnerable, and because we all have, right? Today is Friday. Please do something nice for yourself this weekend, and I will talk to you in my next video. Take care. God bless. Bye.